Angry Joe here, and I'm with Colin, the game director for Guild Wars 2, of course, the expansion, Hearts of Thorns, or Hearts of Thorn. Tell us why. First off, tell us what took so long. Okay, it's been like 2.5 years, man. I wanted this expansion a long time ago. What took so long?
Well, I think there's a couple things. I think one of them is, we tried a lot of different things with live development. Similar to the same philosophy we applied to the core Guild Wars 2 experience of let's challenge what traditional MMOs do. We tried to take that same approach with live content and say, let's try to do something different. Let's see...
the living world.
Living world and feature packs and, a mix of the two for live updates. And we really tried a lot of different things over the course of that time. Another major thing that we did is we launched our game in China. And that was basically like launching a brand new, fresh game all over again.
So that took up all your time.
It certainly took a considerable amount of time for us to do it, and it's been really successful for us. It's an endeavor that was worth our time. It's made it so that we can support the game even better because we have this broader audience. And now that those things are settled, that we have the game launched in all the core regions that we're going to be in for now, and if we ever want to expand, we have a blueprint to do it much easier. That we have a really clear path for how we do live content. It's made it very easy for us to work on and build an expansion, and we've actually been working on this thing for a while. Like you said, but we wanted to wait until it was to the point that all the features were at a place where we could actually tell people we're going to have them before we announced it. We felt like to go out there and say, we're going to have an expansion, and then we just wait forever and not tell them anything about it. It just wouldn't be fair to our fans.
Okay, so sell us this expansion. Tell us why. Obviously, I really liked your game when it first came out. I mean, I gave it a 10 out of 10. There's very few legendary ratings that I gave out. 10 out of 10. It did an MMO in a completely different way. Well, it did enough unique things that I really enjoyed it. And so, but then it's been about 2 years since I've returned to the game. I didn't do any of the living world stuff or any of that new story stuff. So what is the thing that you think is going to bring back those return players?
Well, I'd say the biggest thing for this expansion, the predominant message we want people to take away from it, is we are going back to challenge, just as we did when we first created the game, to challenge MMO conventions. And this time we want to challenge the conventions of the way you expand an MMO. And I think the very traditional way to do that is to put in a whole bunch of content that you tear through very quickly, and then you look around again and say, now what do I do? And we want to do something different than that.
Meaning less content? There must be. We want to do a whole bunch of content. Now, Guild Wars 1, I think, had more than one region. This one is just one region when expansions would come out. Does that mean it's sort of a smaller expansion? How big is this expansion? What can we expect from it?
I think feature-wise, that's the bulk of really the most important focus of this expansion. We are doing an entirely new take on progression, and that doesn't just affect the content you experience in this expansion. It's how everything you're going to play our game going forward will work. And I think anytime you go back and fundamentally address a question like progression, we're throwing out the level curve and throwing out gear tiers and saying, we're never going to add more levels to our game. We're never going to add more tiers of gear. We believe that that's foundationally not the right way to expand.
Level 80 is
that's
done.
It. Okay. Everything you had today, you're going to have tomorrow. We're not going to invalidate any of your hard work. And we're replacing that with a mastery system instead. And this system,
tell us about the mastery system.
Yeah, it's conceptually it's a little bit like taking the original concepts of like a Zelda or a Metroid of experience the game as you're progressing through it and find challenges that you're going to go out, you're going to build your characters and come back and overcome. And it's meaningful contextual progression. So as you're playing, you're going to encounter all these different things that you can do, from moments where you want to jump and hang glide down to get to these places you can't reach, to mushrooms literally you can bounce off of to get higher and higher in the jungle. Creatures you encounter that literally you cannot defeat them until you've earned the abilities that allow you to overcome them, or incredibly challenging.
Learn more about the world and how to beat them. Okay.
Yeah, you learn the languages of species that actually live in the jungle so you can communicate with them, learn their lore, and then you're able to discover secrets about those civilizations. All of that is part of our progression system. So it's not just get to this level and put this gear on and now you can go play the game. It's play the game all the way through, experience everything, and do it with this open world experience where when you see another player, the game is more fun and you can go hang glide together.
That's the one thing I liked about Guild Wars 2. I didn't hate seeing somebody come towards me like, get the hell out of here. No, it was like, let's play together. So, but I think the question I get the most, especially on the forums, is, are you guys going to do anything with the vanilla professions? Are you reworking a few things, maybe improving them, adding new things, replacing some useless abilities with something new? Or is it just everybody going to be playing Revenant because that's the new hotness, right? Is any of the older professions going to receive anything like that?
Yeah, we've got two answers to that. The first is we're adding a brand new feature called specializations, and much like masteries is our answer to how you progress your characters, specializations is the answer to how your professions grow. So every profession will have a specialization available to them that fundamentally, just one initially, but this is the roadmap for how we will continue to grow professions in the future. And these specializations change the way that you get to play. An example of this is a ranger gets to become a druid, and they can channel the powers of nature in the jungle. It allows them to use a staff, which is a weapon they could never use before. It actually gives them new profession mechanics and an entire new set of skills and traits that are available to them.
Okay. New ways to play the old characters. Does that block off certain content when you go down along that specialization?
It does not. So anytime you're out of combat, you can swap right back and play however you want. So you can play as a ranger, then you could say, I really want to be a druid for a while and swap to that. As we add more of them, you'll be able to hot swap between all of them. As part of this, as we're building these specializations and learning about how to make these kind of sub-professions of our professions, we're also going back and looking at each profession and making adjustments to them, changing skills, rebalancing them. We have a lot of new mechanics.
You're gonna
some
rework some
stuff in there for them.
necromancers. Because right now the PvE sort of meta, it seems like there's a lot of Zerkers out there. So are you hoping that the specializations address that kind of thing and make it more viable for lots of different creative builds?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big part of it. I think another one is we really want to provide truly challenging PvE content in this expansion. That's a big focus for us. It's a message we heard from a lot of players when Guild Wars 2 came out is, I had an awesome time getting to level 80. I really had a great experience. I got to level 80 and I looked around and said, what do I do next? This game has great PvP. I can go do that. I can go play World versus World. But I really want challenging PvE content.
Oh, yes.
And this expansion is intended to be our answer to that, and it's our answer going forward.
And you've said that before. How exactly are you going to deliver this challenging content? Is it going to be raids, group content, 5 to 10 players against big bosses? What exactly is it going to translate into?
Well, I can say we've looked at all of those things, and they're all things that
Instances.
Instanced. We've looked at open world. We've got some pretty interesting open world bosses right now, but we looked at all of those things and asked, what is the best ways that we can challenge our players going forward and the content we can provide. You got to play today one of just our normal bosses, the Wyvern in the open world.
That was pretty cool.
And that's just tip of the iceberg of the type of stuff that we want to build to and the types of challenges we want to have. And I can't say today exactly what our plan is. We're not quite ready to announce it yet. I will say between now and the launch of the expansion,
there's more stuff coming.
There is much more, like hard, difficult challenges in the open world, creatures that are much harder.
Raids.
You will find all of those. What the other things will be, we're not ready to talk about yet, but it will be our take on what difficult, challenging content will be.
Well, you've got to promise us to please make at least the epic final boss battle against the Jungle Dragon a little bit more epic than because in the original Guild Wars 2, it's kind of the ending kind of seemed a little rush. Yeah. The final boss was just hit a few buttons.
Cool.
It looked cool, but we're hoping for a little more complexity in the actual gameplay. Are we going to get that in future bosses and world content?
Yeah, we've actually done a ton of AI work to prep for this expansion, and it's something we've been working on for a long time in the background to get to the point we can make really difficult, challenging encounters. I think our living world recently, if you check out some of the releases we've done in that, we've showed just kind of the basics of where some of that AI is going. We've had more challenging creatures. We've heard comments from our players like, wow, this actually it's getting harder and I'm really using my skill bar. And the stuff in this expansion takes that to a whole nother level. I think in your original review, you made a comment about minute-to-minute gameplay in MMOs, and you said it really, story's great and quests are great, but it's all about minute-to-minute gameplay. And if that's fun, that's what makes a game. And I think you're totally right. And I think Guild Wars 2 has really great minute-to-minute gameplay. I think very rarely in the core game experience did the creatures make you use your entire skill bar and actually take advantage of that whole minute-to-minute gameplay. And so it's something that we really, with this expansion, we want you to always be thinking about, how do I use these skills? How do I take advantage of this action-oriented combat system this game delivers? And I hope when people play it, they really feel like, I really have to think about all the skills I have and how I play with other players to take advantage of the depth this system has.
And it's also very nice to hear that you guys are finally putting in Guild Wars into Guild Wars 2, right? So can you talk a little bit about what you mean by growing our guilds and growing our guild hall? Is it just going to be, how do we grow our guild halls and our guilds?
It's another one I can't talk too much about yet today. We're not quite ready to announce all the info on guilds. We'll come back to you and
guilds,
tell you
man,
where we are.
When I was doing guilds, guilds, there was like a limit of 500 members, so we had to do like 3 or 4 clans because our guilds would get so big. Hopefully, we're gonna be able to fit into a guild hall. Have you guys thought about extending the member limit for guilds?
So
'cause I think it's at 500.
The 500 player limit is actually a technical limitation that we're not going to be able to overcome. However, there are a lot of things that we can do to allow multiple guilds to actually tie together and feel like they are part of one bigger experience. And that's the type of stuff we'll be looking at. Certainly, making guilds a pillar of the Guild Wars 2 experience is another one of the huge focus of this expansion.
Yeah,
and
it feels like it should have already been in there, but I'm glad that you guys are finally getting around to it. But I feel like there's something lacking that it didn't have as much hit when the game announced to me. Is like, you know, are we getting any new races? Why have you guys chosen not to add a new race? Or something exciting like that would maybe bring in even new players in addition to the returning players?
Well, I'll say first for the you know, really hitting. I think what we've seen is for our core audience, the message has resonated incredibly well, and they're super excited. I think for a lot of your listeners in particular, the thing they're going to be most excited about is when we can talk about guilds and all the different things that guilds are going to bring to PvP, to World versus World, and to PvE. It's perfect for the Angry Army. I wish I could
like
tell
the
you
maps.
today.
Yeah, tell me, like, besides lava pools, what other things can we see in their interesting mechanics?
There's so much good stuff that's going to be a part of that, and it will, you know.
And you're not going to split the player base. That was something I was interested in, right? Because you're going to put in a new World versus World battleground, and on a rotation. How is that going to affect the base game players? Say if you don't buy, you know, Hearts of Thorns, are they going to be playing on the new map?
They will be, yes.
And what about the new Stronghold mode? Is there going to be a separate queue for people who want to play Stronghold, or is it just a combined queue?
So we're going to do some testing and betas for the queues, and we're going to look at, with Stronghold, we're going to give you the option to always vote for Stronghold. There'll be a featured map so that people can play that more if they want to. If through beta testing we find that people really want to have it separated out, it's something we'll take a look at. But yeah, Stronghold and the World versus World map are things that will be available to everyone. But because we can't siphon off those game modes, in both of those areas, there are things that you will need to own the expansion to be able to take full advantage of. So, for example, some of the things you can do with your guild, if you don't own the expansion, you won't be able to take part in those. And so it's a reason to own the expansion, but you also get to play a lot of that core experience to learn about it first.
I think one of the most important things is when you're coming into this, I kind of feel a little bit lost, you know, because I've been away for 2 years. Right. So for those types of players, the returning players who were kind of waiting on an expansion, you've had a season 1 of Living World content, you've had a season 2 of Living World content, is these that basically has led up to the story of what we're getting right now. Are we going to get, you know, season 1 and 2, you know, bundled in with the Hearts of Thorn expansion so we know what the hell is going on, right?
So season 2, you can go pick it up right now in game. We don't have a bundle yet, but that's certainly the type of stuff that we're looking at doing in time for.
So you have to purchase the episodes separately. How much is that?
They're 200 gems each, which is, you know, a couple bucks. You also can go in game.
But that's season 2. What about season 1?
So for buying them, you can actually go in game and earn gold and buy all of it too. So you don't actually, if you don't want to,
you don't have to pay. You can grind.
You can earn gold. And you don't even have to grind.
Good.
You can just play fun stuff.
Right.
In Guild Wars. That's the best part of Guild Wars 2. Play whatever you want. For season 1,
in World vs. World and PvP,
all of
it. That's
all
great.
Gold.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
In season 1, we built the content for that much more like live updates that were changing the world constantly. And so getting that back into something that's replayable is actually a lot of work. We really want to focus on the expansion right now. But we do want to find a way to bring season 1 back at some point. Yeah. You can get a quick story.
Are we going? Yeah, because are we going to be lost? Because you're talking about gold and gems. This is all after the fact, after we've already bought Hearts of Thorns. So how am I going to know what's going on?
So we're crafting the story such that you don't have to. We're going to set up enough recaps at the beginning of the expansion that you actually can get that full story. And you can play right through, and all of it will make sense.
This is a new personal story, right, for your character?
Continues your character's story all the way beyond. Yep.
New personal story.
And if you want to go back and have a deeper experience or a richer understanding of the story, you can play those season 2, and you can watch the video that recaps season 1. But you don't have to. I think that's really important. You asked the question earlier, what about people who are new? And we chose not to do a new race because we felt like in Guild Wars 2, it doesn't really add a lot of meaningful gameplay. A new race doesn't change your skills. It gives you like a racial skill. It doesn't change the minute-to-minute experience, which is what's important, whereas a new profession does. And a new profession is an opportunity when this expansion comes out for everybody to start on equal footing. Whether you want to play that new profession or not, you could play any existing profession and start at level 1, and you're going to have this massive army of people around you who are also level 1 playing through the game and experiencing it together. So it's an awesome time for people to be able to jump back in and whether they play the game originally and want to come back and check it out or they never picked it up. It's a game where, you know, I'll go back to your review again. You don't have to every month shell out 15
Yes,
bucks.
that's
You
the
buy
best
the game.
part about it.
We've had 2 years of updates that if you come back now and check out, you get all of that.
Yeah.
All these, Living World was a lot more than just content. There's a ton of features.
So we're gonna see a whole bunch more new content. Like we're talking new skins, new armors, new everything.
Yep.
What about new weapons?
So we're not going to see entirely new weapons. We
Nothing
are
like a new pike or something like that. Something,
Not yet.
Something interesting.
Those are types of things that we'd like to do with the game. The specializations will open up a new weapon to each existing profession. So a ranger will be able to use a staff for the first time if they become a druid. A necromancer can use a greatsword for the first time, and they're going to have some incredible skills that tie to that. That's the first step. And then as we go forward, I think you can kind of visualize how the specialization system and new weapons would combo together. And those are the types of things that we now have the systems to deliver on in the future.
Are we gonna see some of my favorite stuff? Some new jumping puzzles, right? In the new area, the jungle. Maybe some the old area, new jumping puzzles in that one. Are we gonna see anything like that?
Yeah, we actually, not only will you see them, we're adding a new feature to the open world in Heart of Thorns called Adventures. And it basically puts a wrapper around open world experiences like jumping puzzles, mini dungeons, the renowned hearts that we had in the game, kind of our take on quests. And it's making them repeatable. And they're actually all going to have leaderboards. So you can see your friends and your guild members' scores.
That's
and
good.
You can see
that's
how
good.
fast you beat the jumping puzzle versus somebody else.
Oh, that's gonna be cool.
They're going to have scores. So if you can beat a certain threshold, you get rewards. They'll have a daily reward that you can go back and do. And they'll have all-time scores where if you can get within a certain point threshold, finish the jumping puzzle fast enough, squish enough bugs in a short amount of time, you get a bunch of extra rewards as well. And that's one of the core features of the open world in this expansion. And as you play through events, the big event chains that are part of this experience, it actually unlocks adventures around the map for you to do.
And you mentioned adventures, a new mechanic there. It reminded me. Well, what's the status on the Super Adventure box?
The Super Adventure box. So that will return. We're not ready to talk yet about what thing. But it.
Colin! So many questions.
I'm sorry. People love Super Adventure Box. It's something that we're very proud of, and when the time is right and we have the right place for it to return, it will do so.
And you're probably going to say the same thing here because I'm really curious about those guilds and how we're building our hall. Is that using currency? What type of currency is that using to build up your guild hall? And do you go on missions to earn more of that kind of influence in the world or anything?
Yeah, the details of how the guilds build up their guild hall and progress and what they do with all that progression that they get is stuff we're going to talk about later. Between now and the launch of the expansion. I will say, I think when we're ready to talk about that, I would love to come back and talk to you about it. I think it's something that the Angry Army is going to love the way these systems work. I think another thing too is we really want to encourage guilds to get together and play together, and that's going to be one of the core components behind how that affects PvP, world versus world,
competitive, friendly, all that stuff. Well, is there something you can talk about, like the actual mechanics in these world versus world areas? You're adding new things to it, dynamic things that you can capture particular areas. It's going to give you a bonus, and it's not just a percentage bonus that you don't really notice. It's actual things. Could you say anything on what those are?
I can give some examples of some of the ones we've talked about. There are a whole lot more in the future that we're going to talk about. That are, I think, even, or some of them are just crazy nuts. But there's examples like you can, if you hold
crazy nuts is like getting a dragon on your side or something like that, or some sort of gun, mega gun. Yeah, okay.
So picture, you're fighting for control of one of the keeps, and it's the fire keep, and it's deep underground. And people have to battle all the way down underground to get down to where your keep is. And along the way, there are shrines you can take. And if you hold those shrines, literally there are magma pools that you can dive into, and they pop you out into other parts of the map. So you can rapidly traverse through it. If you're holding the Earth Keep, and enemies come and start attacking your keep, the ground literally comes alive, and it starts raising up walls to break up the enemy's army as it gets close to you. These things turn on and like swirling sand skin.
That's all good.
That's great. The air keep, if you're holding elements of that, it actually has launch pads that your world can use to traverse up to the top of the cliffs really quickly.
Really fast.
It turns on air gusts. that when an army is charging towards your keep and they're way up on these cliffs, it literally blows them off and their entire army goes flying. Like, there's some really, really cool stuff in there that controlling parts of the world becomes really meaningful. And it adds a lot of strategy. It's like we can hold our keep, we can spread out and hold these different locations, we can stop them from holding their shrines, and then there are other moments in these maps as well that really strategically change up the way it
sounds
plays.
like you guys have put a lot back into the world versus world, which is good because you guys had, you guys released that first. That was something that, well, I don't know about first, but you did it really, really well. And other games since then have tried to take that formula and improve on it, like ESO, but I will not talk about ESO. So hopefully, and it does sound like it, you guys have improved a lot on World vs. World. Hey, can you speak a little bit about the new strongholds? Because that's something that people are super interested in, a new way to play PvP, structured PvP.
Yeah, Stronghold is really our similar to everything else I'm talking about, how we wanted to revision the way that the game would grow.
It's like a MOBA? Is it?
It draws elements a little bit from MOBAs where it has 2 lanes. It draws elements from Fort Aspenwood and GVG, which were game modes in Guild Wars 1. It draws some elements from some of our favorite other competitive games, and we try to take the best of all of those and put something together. I think one of the biggest things that is a challenge in PvP is you need to make a game mode that's accessible and has incredible strategic depth. And it needs to be accessible so that all your players, even people who love PvE, are willing to get into it, try it, and fall in love with it.
And I like this idea that you have 2 castles, pirates versus knights going at each other, having to break through the gates and defeat the lords. It's all really good. And hero characters start to show up. But I must ask, is the AI minions going to be improved? Because if you don't have improvements there, then that mode may not work out.
Yeah, in this, I talked a little bit about how we're doing all this work on AI to make the creatures you fight against more intelligent, to make it more fun, and make you use your skill bar. That is true of all the things that are going to be a part of this experience,
including PvP and PvE,
including the NPCs that are in Stronghold. They make more intelligent decisions. They decide what they are supposed to do, and they stick to that. Okay. They're very things like when you get your door breakers, they're guys with bombs, and their job is to open a door, and they stick to that, and they're very clear on what they're trying to accomplish. So yeah, I think smarter AI in general is something that makes Guild Wars 2 a better game, and that will be across everything from World versus World to PvP, and especially in PvE.
All right, it's sounding good. Sounding good. It all sounds good. Tell us a little bit, how far along is the game? Since it has been 2.5 years and you guys were working on the Chinese release and the Living Worlds, how far along is this game? When are we going to see it come out?
So we don't have a release date yet. We're actually, your timing's great. We're the demo that you got to check out today. We're about to take it to PAX East, and then we're taking it over to London and Rezzed a week after that, and that's all in the next couple weeks.
And what about beta?
Beta will come right after that. Closed beta will follow very closely. Based on how the closed betas go, that'll determine our open beta schedule, and based on how the open betas go, that'll determine our launch date. We really, we're changing fundamentally the way that this game progresses, the way you build your characters, the way that you handle endgame progression, the way that guilds battle in PvP and in World versus World and play in the open world together. All of those are things that are pretty hardcore upgrades to the core wiring of the game. And we want to give our players a chance to get in, play it, and give us feedback and make sure we got it right. I think the worst thing we could do is try to get it out there when you're changing the core wiring to make it better. It's a really dangerous thing.
So you guys are completely open to possibly changing things as the open beta rolls around?
Yeah,
it's not just a, hey, here's a preview, now pay us money, which is the next question. How much is this expansion going to be? Is it going to be less? Is it 60, 40? What are we looking at?
We don't have a purchase price yet. That's something that as we get closer to release, we'll come out and talk about all the different box SKUs and purchase prices and everything. But yeah, right now we're really focused on getting to betas.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys on the next Angry Joe Show.